Hi there, this is Sean, the Honest Book Reviewer, with another book review. In this video, we're discussing a Stephen King book called The Outsider. I don't have the copy of the book with me and was returned to the library today, but I'll show you the image of the cover in the video. I thought this was a fantastic book. It's another great Stephen King book, and it's one I hadn't read, and I think it was published maybe 2018-19. I don't know why I took so long to read this. I had a gap where I wasn't reading Stephen King for a while. I'm not sure why that was, but I'm jumping back into all Stephen King books again, and I found this one a fantastic read. One of the best Stephen King books I've read, alongside Dolores Claiborne, which I did do a video of on my channel. Let's discuss this book in depth now. This plot will shock readers. That's my impression. It did shock me. There are certain events in this book that happen that I can't say the words in the video because you don't know what YouTube's going to pick up and censor. I'll just say that a young child is brutally murdered and other things that happen to this young child as well. I think he's about 7 or 8. That's the very start of the book. And just the scene, the way it's described, the things that happen, I think will be challenging to some readers. So just be warned that with this book, if you find certain things challenging or can trigger you, just be warned that this may not be the book for you. It's Stephen King giving us something that's real, that does happen in real life, but in his usual way, he takes characters and he says, what's the worst thing characters can do to other people? And then he does that in his books. And that's what he's always done in his writing. But he does go to some very extreme lengths in this book, I think. And they're very shocking, but just by how extreme they are, they do drag you in as a reader. They get you involved in the plot and engaged in the plot so deeply straight away. And that drags you through the whole book. And I found this book very gripping, very engaging. There are parts that go into a lot of detail, not of the crime itself, but of the characters and motives and what people are thinking, did they, didn't they, all this sort of thing that goes all through the book. And Stephen King's very good at going into detail in the things that he needs to, and they drag the plot forward, and as a reader, you're just carried along in the plot, almost like a wave in the ocean. You have no choice but to go along once you start reading. I don't think this book is too long. I think this book is just right because he sets everything up so well. The first 100 or so pages are the fastest part of the book, I think. The most gripping, and they drag you in. That hook is so good. You have a man who's arrested, accused of murder, and he's a pillar of the community. He's a Little League coach. He's taught kids sport for years. He's loved by the town. And it's such a shock that this person could be accused of this murder. The DA and the investigators think that they've got a slam dunk case. There's eyewitnesses who saw him. There's DNA evidence. There's other evidence as well at the scene and in the vehicle and on the body. All these things link to him as being the murderer. But is he? Because we soon learn that there's other witnesses and other evidence to put this man somewhere else in another city at the same time. So how can it be 2 places at once? That's the first riddle in this story. And that's the first thing that people have to get their heads around. Again, that just drags you in to the story as a reader because I want to know how this person can be in 2 places at once. I want to know if he's supernatural. Is he some sort of monster, some sort of creature? You just don't know what's going on. You don't know if somebody is impersonating him. You don't know if he's lying. You don't know what's going on at all. It's so cleverly written in that section of the book, and almost all the way through the book, you just don't know. You learn things as you go on further on, but you have to get through all that confusion, all those questions, and we don't know until the characters know. I think that's a really special thing in books, when we don't know everything that's going on, because I want books where I'm kept guessing, and I think authors who can do that, they've got some sort of master over plot, I think, over the way of storytelling. When we're just as dumbfounded and as confused as the characters in the book. This book is also really about the quest for truth, the quest for innocence. I won't tell you everything that goes on in the plot because there are big events that I think you should find out for yourself. And there are certain twists that do happen in the book that some are so surprising that why would I want to give them away in a video? I will mention one thing. We do have Holly in this book, and Holly is the character in the Mr. Mercedes Finders Keepers trilogy that Stephen King wrote before he wrote The Outsider. And in this book, she's a wonderful character, and I've not read all those books, but I have seen the TV show Mr. Mercedes, and the Holly I picture in from that TV show is just a Holly in this book. Her persona, the way she speaks, the way she carries herself, everything about her is portrayed so well in this novel, and I think Holly makes this book even more special. It's a fantastic book without her, but with her, I think this book is just an unbelievable read. I think you really should read this. If you're even not a big fan of Stephen King, if you've not really read him in the past, grab this book and read it. There is something going on in the book that can make it horror, but it's also a crime novel, it's also a drama, it's also psychological. There's so much more going on in this book than just horror. And I think for once Stephen King has given us a slight horror novel with other elements that works really well. And in another book I read recently from Stephen King called Cell, I think he tried the same kind of thing, getting horror and merging it with other themes, other styles, but that didn't work. But this one, I think everything worked for it, and it was just a brilliant read. The first character I'll mention is Ralph. Ralph is the lead investigator in the crime, and he is the lead investigator who wants to arrest Terry for the murder. Ralph's an interesting character because he wants to see everything as black and white, and I guess in a way this novel's showing us that police officers, law enforcement, are trained to see things as black and white. They don't want to see things as grey, because grey is confusing, grey can cloud their judgment, confuse the facts, confuse the evidence. They want to see black and white. As the book goes on, I think the events challenge him. They challenge his way of thinking, and he has to learn to think between the lines. Between that area between black and white, he has to look in the murkiness. He has to face his own thoughts, his own feelings, and you get that all through the book. You feel that in the character. He's a brilliantly crafted character. He's well written, and he's so well rounded. You feel the change in him, the shift in him as this novel goes on, and you feel the challenges he faces internally to understand evidence put before him as it changes, as the story changes. And I think that's just a special thing. And I felt like this character was so lifelike, so real. So Ralph is a very special character. Howie is the lawyer that Terry hires to defend him when he's arrested. He's a very interesting character because you just see how sneaky he is in the way he goes about defending his clients, how clever he is as well. And he works within the confines of the law, of course, but he knows where to push the boundaries and he knows how to get ahead of the police. So he's very clever, very resourceful. He's a really good character because he's loyal as well. He believes his friend and he wants to prove that his friend is innocent of the crime. I think Howie is another special character, and I think King has done a good job in this book of giving us characters that have different layers, and some of them are quite subtle, but they're all there and makes these characters more three-dimensional. And I think that's one of the reasons why this book is such a good read, because the characters are also lifelike. I have to mention Holly because Holly just comes across as so lifelike and so brilliant in this novel. I'm a real fan of Holly, and I'm glad she's in this book. And I hope that she returns in future books, or King develops a series for her. I don't know if that will happen because you get the feeling towards the end of this novel that maybe that Holly character is just creep away into the shadows a bit and be content in a life outside of the novels. Just her mannerisms, the things she says, the way she carries herself and interacts with people, all through the book it's so constant and very special. And I think Holly is one of King's best characters he's created in his whole writing career. I think many people can relate to Holly, and I think Holly will probably go down as one of the best characters in modern fiction. If you haven't read this book, I think you'd love it. Even if you're not a fan of Stephen King, I think you would like this book because it's not true horror. The horror element is there in small parts, but most of the novel is about real people. So it's about drama, and it's got a bit of crime novel element there as well. It's about a mystery, a group of people trying to solve a mystery and get to the truth. That's the true essence of this book. I rate this a 5 out of 5. I thought it was just brilliant, and I'm so glad I finally got around to read this. And it makes me really eager to read more new Stephen King novels after this book, because I think that he's still got it. As a writer, he's still relevant, and he's still producing great books. I do review a few Stephen King novels already on my channel. Check it out and subscribe. In the future, I'm going through my whole Stephen King collection, and every book that I do read will go on my channel with a book review. If you don't want to miss out on those, check out my channel and subscribe. I also have a horror playlist on my channel. You should see that playlist on your screen now.